So yesterday we have seen how we can send data from one component to another component through router. Okay, today we are going to see HTTP interceptor. So what is meant by interceptor? So interceptor means a point to handle all the HTTP requests and response. Okay, in Angular code, we will write our own interceptor. What is meant by interceptor? A point where we can handle all the HTTP requests and response. Why we need to handle all the HTTP requests and all the HTTP responses? In most of the cases, if you see in any site or any app, so if there is no backend server is running, so they will show some problem exists, server is not running. So many errors they show, right? So how they show? So basically HTTP gives its own response actually. So it gives a 404 error status or 401 error status, and it gives some HTTP UI, right? So if you don't find some particular series, if I am trying to localhost 420, okay, now server is not running. See, so this is given by, this response is given by HTTP. Okay, so if I don't want to see this response, so any app or any site don't want to see this response. They want to convey user that what is the exact problem. Okay, so if we don't have authentication, it will show like you don't have authentication in one line. This HTTP UI looks like that. But if you want to convey user that, so you don't have proper authentication, go and get some authentication or login or register something we want to tell him instead of generic error message. So in that case, we have to handle response. Okay, so in that case, we have to handle responses and we have to show our own messages. So that we can do in HTTP interceptor. Even we can do in the backend also, but in Angular, how we will do that we can see here. So in backend services in Java or Node.js or even Python, anything, there also we can do that. There also we can handle this 404, 401, 500, any error we can handle there also. But assume somebody is not handled in the service level. So we want to handle in Angular code. So we can use HTTP interceptor. So why we need to handle request? So why we need to handle request means before sending HTTP request, you want to do something to your request. So you want to add something for all the HTTP requests. Assume that you are doing 1000 HTTP calls. So you already written code for it. Now I want to do some small change to that request. So where you can do, you can't change in all the 1000 places, right? So you have to write code in all the 1000 places. Instead of that, what you can do is in the HTTP interceptor, you can write your own code. So what will happen? All the can somebody mute themselves? Yeah. So all the requests will pass through our interceptor, whatever we define in our Angular. So we can define our own interceptor and we can handle all the requests and responses. Okay. Now we will see how we will add our own interceptor. So first we have to create our own interceptor. So interceptor is a service. So that is one of injectable service. So that what we have to do, we have to create a service. So I am creating a service. Service name is, I'll give custom interceptor. So now I have created a custom interceptor. Now in this custom interceptor, what we have to do? So we have to implement HTTP interceptor. So there is one HTTP interceptor already in Angular library, but so if you want to write code, so we cannot write in this particular module, right? So that's why we are implementing this HTTP interceptor and we are making a custom interceptor so that instead of passing through HTTP interceptor, it will pass through our custom interceptor. So there is a one particular method we have to implement it. So that is intercept. Intercept is the method where all the request and response will intercept here. Okay, so now, so it's empty now. So that's why it is asking to throw a new error. So we have to send some return. So return. So syntax to send. Okay, next to handle request. So we are sending same request as it is. We are not doing anything. So just we are sending request as it is currently. Okay. So now we need to add this our custom interceptor in app module.ts. So how we will add that? So we have to go to app module.ts and here in the providers list, we have to add that. So this is a syntax for adding that in the providers list. So interceptor name is, what is our interceptor? Custom interceptor service. Okay. So now we have added in the providers list. So why we have to add in the providers list? Throughout our module, it should be available so that in any service, if you do any HTTP request, all those will come to our interceptor service. Okay. So now we have added our interceptor service. Assume if we have 1000 HTTP calls, so all the HTTP calls should pass through our interceptor service. Okay. Let's say now we'll see whether it is reaching here or not. Let's put an alert. Reached. So do we have any HTTP calls? Yes, we have one HTTP call, right? To get the products and show it in the UI. So we have one HTTP service. So where is that? So product service. So here we have some HTTP calls, right? So whenever we do product view, so that time it will hit these products. It will go and get the products. Before going and getting, it should hit our interceptor. Once we call this get request, it should hit our interceptor first. Let's see whether it is hitting or not. See, before loading itself, it is hitting. Can anyone know why? So why? Because we have translators. So even translator uses HTTP calls. So we have used the translator service, right? So this translator service internally uses that HTTP calls. So that's why it is hitting without even calling this product view. So that because of this translator service, it is hitting that. Okay. So now in the product view, so I'm trying to call this product view. See, again, it is hitting our interceptor. Why? So it reached that HTTP call. Once again, it is hitting. Maybe we are making two calls there. Let's see. Product view.html component.ts. Yeah, one for request and one for response. So once we get the response also, it will hit there. Okay. So once we send a request here, it will start hitting there. Okay. If you want, we will see in the debug mode. See now what error we are getting. It's this is 404 error. It should be. Where is our code? It should be 404 error because we are not running our backend service. So that's why we are getting 404 error. Okay. Now, let's say how we will debug it. So we will go to product view component.ts. Then let's put a debug point here. And in the console, once the response comes, let's reload it. Okay. Yeah. One because of the translator service we are getting, and one more we are getting here. This dot service or get products. So now it is reached our interceptor. Okay. So previously we got two. Why? Because one is because of translator service only, not because of response. One is because of translator service. Okay. So now we are able to reach our interceptor. So what all we can do in the interceptor? So we can do anything basically. So if you want to, see currently we are not running anything in the backend. Let's run that first. We know that it is reaching now. Let's remove this. So we are getting data. Okay. So what we are doing? So we are getting data, right? So here actually I enabled cars. Okay. So if I disable this, I won't get data. Because we'll get cross origin issue. What is meant by cross origin means, so if you are running your UI in one port and backend in another port, it will throw cross origin issue because the origins are different. The request where it is coming and there's the request where it is receiving are different. So that's why we get access control allow origin issue. So this is cross origin issue we call. Okay. So most of the time when you are developing any Angular product, we will face this issue. The solution is simple. See, in the development mode only, the origins will be different. In the production mode, the origins will be always same, because we won't deploy our Angular code separately and service separately. Yes, nowadays we are still deploying our service and everything separately. That is in containers. So containers will not get any cross origin issues. But if you deploy in different servers and if both the servers are running in a different port, then you will get cross origin issue. Okay, so to solve this, simply we can add this cars plugin to our browser and just we can enable it. So I already added this plugin. So if at all you want to add this plugin, you can just add plugin. Just you have to add this plugin. See here. So this plugin you can just add in the browser. Once you add it, so you will be getting this icon in the browser. So there you can enable or disable it. So now it is disabled. That means cross origin HTTP calls are not allowed. So if it is enabled, that means cross origin HTTP calls are allowed. So means the port can be anything in the client side and in the server side. Okay. So now we'll try to set this cross origin in the code level. So set cars in header. Angular. Just we need to know the property name. Okay. So access control allow origin star. Okay. So we'll try that. So here, how we will set headers? So here we can just clone and we can set headers. Request equals to request dot clone headers request dot headers dot set. So here we have to set as a key value pair, right? So then we have to put star. And same request we are sending it back. So what we have done, we have just changed our headers and we have made allow control allow origin. So that cars issue we are trying to resolve. Okay. Has been blocked by cars policy. Response to pre-flight request doesn't pass access control check. Passing, right?
Karthik, I guess we need to add cross origin annotation in backend service also.
Okay, in the response we need to add. Okay. Okay, correct. So in the backend service, only in the response we can add, not in the request actually. So here we don't have a response object, so we cannot add. Once we hit the service, in the response we have to add this access control allow origin. So now what we do is we'll do different thing then. So we will be doing some local storage also we can do. No, still this should come in the headers. Go to network. Let's see our Angular 10. See, access control allow origin is coming. There is no issue. But in the request header, it is coming. In the response, it should come actually. And I see one more issue. Okay. So in the response also, we need to add this. Then only we'll get the data. Okay. So we'll try to add it in the response. Set headers. Same thing we have to copy paste. Not restart. Okay, I'm using for responses. Set cars in response object. Yeah, correct. Actually, for some reason, it's not working, but actually, it should work. Once we set in the response, it should work actually. Why it's not working, I don't know. Okay, let's enable here. We'll do different thing. Hmm. Which see from origin. Okay, let's remove. See, now it is reaching. Okay, maybe because of request we have set it. That's why it's not working. Let's try this one. No, it's not working. Okay. Maybe the key is wrong, I think. So the key is not this one. Okay, we'll see that later. Okay, now we are getting data, right? So what else we can do in here in the interceptor? So we can do anything. So which you want to do before sending any request. Okay, so I want to set some value to my local storage. So what is meant by local storage? Local storage is something like, so in browser we will be having some storage. So that storage is called local storage. So what is meant by why we have to use this local storage? See, assume that you have some data, you have to cache that some data. So assume you have a logged in username, or you have some authentication key, or any backend authorization key, or anything. So which is important for your application, and you want to store throughout that particular session. So in that case, you can set it to local storage. So what it will do is it will maintain that data until you close that particular session. So that's where our local storage will be helpful. Okay. So how we will set data to local storage? Before sending HTTP request, I want to set some data. So local storage is a default object which is available in Angular code. So directly you can start using local storage dot set item. I'm setting username. Okay, so I'm trying to get that. Trying to set username. So once I receive response, I want to get this item. So in the product view component.ts, here I want to get that local storage dot get item username. So let's put it in. So I'm setting something and I'm trying to get there. See this. So local storage means you can set in one component and you can get it in any other component. You can set in any service and you can get it in the any service or component. Okay, so why we are not considering it as a data transfer method? Why? Because this is a local storage. So once you put data here, until you remove it, the data will be there in that. And it is a browser cache. So browser cache means what will happen? So if at all you are running multiple sites, so browser will need to store some of the data. So if you are keep on adding everything to local storage, some big data, if you are adding, your browser will hang, because this local storage will be limited. So in the browser, so you should not add so many things in this local storage. You should add very small data which is required for your application. So just like username or any authentication key or something like that, only 2-3 things you should add. Should not add entire source code, or sorry, source data, something like if we are sending some backend data, right? Car, all the details and all. So you should not add that kind of objects here. Assume that if the backend is sending 10,000 lines of data, so then the local storage will get filled. And if you want to open any other site, you cannot open because browser doesn't have much what is that, much storage. So it has some small storage and you are occupying it for your application. If you want to open any other application, you can't open, the browser will hang there. Okay, so that's why we are not calling local storage as a data transfer method between the components. Yes, it is a data transfer if you are using only username and keys or something like that. Okay, so if at all, that's why there is a remove item option also, because once you use it and so later on, if you don't need that, you can remove it directly. So remove item of username. So it provides three methods. One is setter method, getter method, and you can remove that particular item itself. Okay, so all these three things are available in the local storage and you have to use it carefully. So we can also see that where it is setting also. If you go to application, storage, local storage. Series. So in the local storage, we are setting username. This is a key and this is a value. For every application, it will store this data. See, currently we have only one application. Let's open something else. Localhost 8080. See, for this, there is nothing. So for every application, it will maintain this key value pairs and it will display here. Okay, that's why I'm telling, if you have big data, you should not put it here because it will occupy so much of space and other sites will not run. Other sites will not get that data, storage data.
Sir, why we need to store data like this? I mean, why we are storing data in local storage? What is the purpose, sir?
See, the purpose is, so if you set in provider service, right? Assume that in provider service, anybody can change the data. Assume same provider service in multiple components we are using. So the username should not change. So if you set username to any provider service, assume in any component or any service, they can change the data. Provider service is there for utility, right? So they can change the data. So because the provider service is there for utility only, but local storage is something like, so if it's kind of read only. So if you set it, you have to read only. You should not override it. Still you can override it, but you should not do that because it is set for a purpose like, so throughout this session, if I want to have some data, so I can set it to local storage. So provider service means in all the components we will be setting and getting and everything will be doing. So local storage we will not use for regular purpose, right? So people will not set any data to that and people will not override the existing data. So that's why we are using this local storage. And in many cases, what will happen? So we might need to redirect to one application to another application. In that case, so this provider service will not be available in that particular application, right? Assume I have one Angular application and I'm calling a JSP page from here. So this provider service is not available in the JSP, but I want to set some data. I want to get username there also. How I can get it? So if I set it to local storage, the browser is same, right? So if I set it to local storage, so the browser will contain that data and in the JSP also I can get it from the browser storage. Okay.
So, sorry. So, sir, if we are taken any property, so if we save any sensitive information, user can change the values. So that's the reason we are taking the local storage and we are saving this one for throughout the application, right? You are saying?
Throughout that particular session. So until
Yeah.
user is logged in that session, so that will be there.
Yeah. If we are taking with the variable name, user can able to change. So that's why we are going this concept, right?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, sir.
See, session means that is a browser session. See, even
Yeah,
if
I understand.
yeah, until I close this browser, this will exist. Okay. So once I close this browser, this will be closed. Until I close the browser, it will be there. So that's why I'm telling, if at all you are using a different application also, you can access this value. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now we'll try to handle response. Okay. So how we will handle response is, there are methods available in the interceptor. Okay. So what we can do is we can use dot map. I'll try to copy it. Wait, okay, let's leave that. Dot map is not there. Dot map should be there. So this. Or exchange, it should be there. Right? Okay. It's not there. No, still it's not. RxJS should be there. Okay, observable office code. So office there. Okay, fine. Is not there.